Spouses and parents who feel that their marriage or relationship is in trouble frequently ask about how to go about getting a legal separation, but some of them may be legal separation and not even know it. There are no formal steps that anyone has to take to separate from their spouse. However, the date a couple separates can be very important, especially for married couples, and can really affect how things work out, especially financially. But since the date of separation is not necessarily the date that one spouse moves out, this episode of the Ontario Family Law Podcast explains how to know if you are separated. I'm Judge Schuman, a certified specialist in family law in Ontario. I'm also a mediator, arbitrator, and collaborative lawyer. This podcast is a companion to my book, Guide to the Basics of Ontario Family Law, which is available on the iBookstore, Amazon, Kobo, and in fine bookstores. As I covered in episode 42, and in my book, there is nothing that spouses have to sign or file or even tell their other spouse to be legally separated. In Canada, spouses do not have to agree to separate. If one spouse wants out, then that is all that is needed to end the relationship. A spouse does not even have to move out to be legally separated. So, with nothing that a spouse has to specifically say or do to be legally separated, it is possible for the other spouse to be separated and not even know it. Although a spouse really has to be obtuse to not have some idea that the relationship is over. To be legally separated, spouses have to stop living together like spouses. Sometimes there can be a disagreement over when the spouses stop living together like spouses, with one spouse feeling that they were still married for a time and the other spouse disagreeing. As I explained in episode 71, and also in my book, a change in the official date of separation can have a big impact on the finances after separation. So big, in fact, that judges have had to decide when spouses have separated and have even told spouses that they were separated when the spouses themselves thought they were still together. In determining whether spouses have separated, judges are supposed to consider what an objective outsider looking at the couple would think. Would a friend or neighbor think the couple had separated, even if the spouse isn't sure? When that isn't clear, judges look at the following factors to determine whether spouses separated on a specific date. If they are living under the same roof, whether they share the same room, whether the spouses or parents go out together as a family, whether they eat meals together, whether they vacation together, whether the spouses have separated their finances, whether they report themselves as married, common law, or separated on their income tax returns, and whether they tell other people that they are separated or together. Where the answer to those questions shows that at least one of the spouses is separated, then the couple is separated. So if one spouse has opened a bank account to hide money from the other spouse, they are likely separated. If one spouse can't find time to go out with the family or go on vacation with them, then they are likely legally separated. If the spouses always sleep in separate rooms, then they are likely legally separated. Sometimes the spouse who doesn't want to separate thinks that his or her spouse must be crazy to want to separate. In some cases, they can wonder if their spouse even has the mental capacity to decide to separate. But it is a really low bar to have the capacity to separate. If someone is able to look after themselves at all and has the ability to manage his or her life, then he or she has the ability to separate. It is very unlikely that a judge will say that the parties are not separated because one of them is crazy. Often it is the spouse who won't accept the separation that is the one who is being crazy. So it is possible for spouses to be separated without one of them knowing it. One spouse may be meeting with a lawyer secretly to plan things, or may be separating the finances without announcing that the parties are going to get divorced. But remember that it must be a situation where an objective person looking in on the couple would believe that the parties are separating for them to be officially separated. So, if one spouse is really hiding their intent to end the relationship, the parties won't be separated. On the other hand, if objective people around the family say to themselves, that marriage is over, the parties can be legally separated even if neither of them realizes their relationship has come to an end. If you think your relationship may be coming to an end, then you should subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you can continue getting helpful Ontario family law information. Liking this video helps make this video appear for other people in similar situations. And of course, if you may be separating, you should get a copy of my book to find out what happens next, what you're in for, and how family law works. For married couples, the date of separation is important for several reasons. The first is that the spouses have to be separated for at least a year to be divorced. I explained that and how long it takes to get divorced in Ontario in episode 67. So, when getting remarried is important, it is also important to figure out how early you might have been separated. The date of separation also sets out the date for property division for married couples. It can also have an impact on pensions. As I explained in episode 79, child support should start immediately on separation, although if the parties are living together and covering all the expenses, child support may not be necessary if the spouses are still living in the same residence and continuing to share all the children's expenses. Anyone who thinks that their relationship is in trouble should take a careful look at what is going on to determine whether it is already over and whether they are already separated. Being separated has some important legal ramifications. If you are not sure whether you are separated or you don't know what you should do next, it is time to speak to a family law lawyer. You can reach me and my team by calling 416-446-5847. If you need some more general family law information or guidance, or you need to understand Ontario family law better so you can make better decisions, if you need to know the best parenting options after separation, or if you need to understand how finances work during a marriage or common relationship and after separation or divorce, get a copy of my book, Guide to the Basics of Ontario Family Law. You can access it immediately on the iBook store, on Amazon for the Kindle version, or you can download it for Kobo. Amazon can deliver the paperback version directly to your doorstep. You can also get a lot more Ontario family law information on www.schumanlaw.ca. Not only are there hundreds of pages of family law information and links, but there are links to get my book and links to reach my office to meet with me or one of my colleagues. You can also set up an appointment to speak with us by calling 416-446-5847. It is always best to get a lawyer who can give you expert advice that's specific to your situation. In addition to my website, keep up to date on family and children's law issues by liking my Facebook page, following me on Twitter and Mastodon at @SchumanFamLaw, and finding me on LinkedIn. Of course, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. Keep up to date. You can get the audio versions of the Ontario Family Law podcast on all major podcast services, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and many more. Or you can get all the episodes at www.schumanlaw.ca. Just look for podcasts in the drop-down menu. Thanks for participating in this podcast. We will get together again soon.